Welcome to lesson 10. Now we are on to the fingernails. In this lesson, we will talk a little bit about how the fingernail works, why look at the nails, the cuticles, the moon, the nail shapes and their meanings, the fingernails and character analysis, and some health indicators. It's quite a long video lesson, this one. Let's get to it. So, why look at the fingernails in palmistry? That is because the nails are examined to check for health mainly, but they also reveal some important aspects of the personality. I would like to point out, please, to back up any possible health issues from palmistry or the fingernails, you should always consult a qualified medical practitioner. So don't make the mistake of diagnosing from the nails or the palms and lines alone, because many of these indicators are in continual change according to the individual's circumstances. The fingernail is a protection of the sensitive fingertip, and because of its delicate growth process, the nails are responsive to physiological and physical changes. The cuticle around the edge works like a defense, preventing grime and infection from entering beneath the nail. The nail bed itself, with its rich blood supply, gives the nail its color and so can reveal potential irregularities. That is, if it's an unusual color. The moons are a part of the growing root of the nail, more commonly seen on the thumbs for some reason, and rarely on the little finger. Ideally, they should be just slightly visible and pale in color. I don't know if you can see on here, but the moon is very small. So basically only just sticking out. And that is an average moon to be so small, except for the thumb. It's usually a bit bigger on there. So if there's no moons at all, it can suggest a weak constitution, and if they are overly large, that might denote an overactive thyroid. On to the nail shapes now. The shape of and size of the fingernail can help determine the character of an individual. In most cases, the form of the nail will depend on the shape of the fingertip, as you might have learned a little bit from the fingertip lesson. In some circumstances, the nail changes over time. For instance, a fan-shaped nail can develop from long-term nervousness, stress or anger, and a nail can also reduce in size when the health weakens. Once the problems have gone, the nail can gradually return to its former shape. The length and width of the nail. A reasonable length of nail is half the length of the top phalange. The top phalange measured from the crease. A reasonable average length is half. It starts from halfway along that nail. So ideally it's neither long, too short, or too narrow, nor too bitten. A full nail, such as this in this photo, shows good health. It shows a cautious personality, sensibility. These people also tend to be kind, sympathetic, and practical. So the wide nail does not show much flesh on the sides of the nail as well. In the length and width of the nail, the long nail, if it's also narrow, can suggest emotional instability. If it's wide and long, then the person thinks things through carefully. The fuller the nail, the healthier, stronger, open-minded and patient they are. Physiologically, they would be considered to have more stamina, the resilient type. The square nail depicts the most stable type of all, with general good health and even temper, unless it's really, really small. These people are somewhat serious-minded, practical, reliable, honest and upfront, usually kind-natured. So here you can see again the squarish looking nail, and it starts approximately halfway on the top phalange. So it's commonly found on the thumb, and if it's on the other fingers, that enhances those qualities some more. The rectangle nail obviously shows a bit more flesh on the sides, but it still has the square look at the start of the nail. So the rectangle nail, if it's relatively wide, shows someone a little bit more cautious. They will put a lot of thought into decisions. They are a deep thinker, tolerant, sympathetic and easygoing. If the nail is long and rectangle, they might lack some diplomacy. If the rectangle nail is narrow, it shows more delicate health, impatience, some narrow-mindedness, and someone who might be afraid to take risks. The broad nail, which covers the entire fingertip, however, may show a lack of common sense. So the very broad nail, you pretty much don't see any flesh on the side of it. If the full nail is also very short with a gap between the nail and the fingertip, so if it were to literally show flesh up the top here, so a short nail, a short broad nail, it displays a person who's quite critical of others with strong opinions and potentially a quick temper. If broad and long, they will be very straightforward, open and honest personality. The oval or the round nail, that is the most widespread shape, portraying a balanced, well-rounded character, someone who rarely becomes angry or spiteful. If it's long or pointed at the tip, physical health may not be as robust as it could be. A broad, round nail suggests someone very adaptable with a gentle and kind personality. They are often creative too. You can see how the start of the nail is not square down the bottom, it's actually round, and the whole nail just continues to be circle. And with the oval, it is once again like a half circle down at the base, but it's long, making it an oval shape. So the small round nail may lack some physical or physiological, psychological strength. So ideally, an oval nail is better than the small round nail, physically and psychologically. The narrow nail, recognized by a lot of flesh showing either side of the nail, is common on the pinky, on the mercury finger. However, if all the nails are narrow, it can suggest a lack of strength, a weak constitution, or a sensitive nervous system. These people are often materialistic and afraid to take risks. If it's also short, it's a sign of someone emotionally immature with a selfish, narrow-minded nature. These kind of nails might look very childlike. It might look like a little child's hand on the top side, and that's the sign of the emotionally immature nature from the small, very, very small nail. Here's some more information there. So the small nail is one that begins closer to the tip of the finger instead of halfway along the phalange. They will also be narrow with a lot of flesh either side of it. Rarely there is this white bit. Usually the small nail will be bitten or just very small. So people with these small nails do have a curious and inquiring nature. They have a sharp mind and are often quite witty. But extremely small, however, it's a sign of that emotional immaturity and possibly low resistance to illness. The short nail, if it's so short that it looks like only half the nail at the tip of the finger, whether it's narrow or broad, it shows that critical, uneven-tempered, potentially argumentative person. They will be very hard to please. Fan-shaped nail. The fan-shaped nail can also show that immaturity, especially if it's small. And it can also suggest two very different things, but not necessarily at the same time. One is that it can show a lack of vitality, maybe some long-term stress, nervousness, or illness. If on all the fingers they show a highly determined but perhaps a sensitive, neurotic, even bad-tempered individual. If found only on one finger, it can point to the area of concern. For instance, on the Mercury finger, there may be intimacy issues. On the Apollo finger, there may be some creative obstacles. On the Saturn, there may be some worry over money, like long-term worry over money. And the Jupiter finger, there might be long-term feelings of powerlessness, so not being able to use your power for what you want in life. Like leadership, lack of leadership long-term. Health from the nails. To check for health issues from the nails, we look at the colour of the nail as well as the nail bed, the texture, the shape, and the moons. These findings represent current or past events, not the future. So in some cases, it's difficult to make a judgment due to the popularity of artificial nails and frequent use of nail varnish, and associated products on the nails can also give misleading information for the health of the individual. When looking for clues to the health, we apply the same principles as for the hands, which is to find something unusual. A nail usually takes 6 months to grow from the root to tip, so some markings can be timed based on where it is on the nail. As an example, a horizontal ridge halfway along the nail would suggest a change around 3 months ago. An ordinary healthy nail will be pliable, it'll have a smooth texture, average thickness, and the colour of the nail is typically light pink, as per this image. The moons should be milky white and usually only visible on the thumb, properly visible. Bitten nails, it's common to assume that well-groomed nails would belong to someone who likes to take care of their appearance. So for this reason, they won't lack in self-esteem. But the severely bitten hand points to the opposite and is seen on those who have a nervous tendencies and maybe a highly strung personality. People often bite their nails when they are bored, even if they don't feel like that they are bored, but they tend to do that. It can be a sign of intelligence, but not having somewhere to use that intelligence, that you need more to do. Your mind needs to be more active. It's showing that you have potential for so much more if you can find those things to apply your mind instead of chewing the nail. Blue, purple or red in the nail beds. The bluish tinge within the nail bed can be due to circulatory or respiratory problems. Sometimes this is temporary due to cold weather or cold hands. It is normal for a woman to have a bluish nails during the early teens and again later during menopause when there are changes in the body's hormones. Red looking fingernails mainly show a predisposition to poor circulation. Very red nails though can be high blood pressure, bad temper or cardiovascular disease. A white looking nail bed can suggest iron deficiency, low vitality or liver dysfunction. It can also be related to the kidneys as well. Depending on the quality of the nail, if it appears to be lifting off the quick, clouded, brittle and dry, then it could indicate a fungal disease of the nail itself. A pale white or greyish tinge under the nails can indicate some selfish leanings or lack of warmth in the character. Yellow or brown in the nail beds. Splotches or stain looking marks directly under the nail can indicate jaundice, liver or gallbladder conditions, as long as it's not stained from hair colour or other dyes. When the nail itself is white and clouded on the top section and yellow at its base, it is associated with kidney disease. Other conditions can also cause yellowing, such as fungal infection or regular contact with heavy-duty chemicals on the nails. The humped nail is commonly associated with weak lungs, respiratory disorders such as emphysema, bronchitis or pneumonia. Long-term smokers often have these nails that grow over the tip of the finger, appearing curved or humped, suggesting inadequate oxygen coming to the nail. In this picture, I don't know if you can see it, I can't enlarge it right now. We have a humped nail on the pinky and the ring finger is also humped. The other two look like they have lots of vertical stripes, but they have a clear hump on them. This person is a long-term smoker in his 60s. So a severely humped nail where the tip appears swollen indicates a more serious condition. A claw-like nail is frequent on the hands of older people who may have problematic or a dominant attitude. If there's no respiratory or age-related issues, these people are quite tenacious. They might be somewhat pompous in their attitude. The concave nail, that's the opposite of the hump, so it looks like a spoon sort of sunken in. That can be a sign of a lack of energy or physical stress. There may be nutritional deficiencies or exposure to a lot of water or chemicals which soften the nail. So if you are like a kitchen hand who doesn't wear gloves and is always washing dishes, that can potentially cause a concave nail as well. But it can be a warning of a more severe oncoming illness. Some markings now. White markings, flecks or spots, they're quite common. They can show if you've just had some bumps onto the nail. But they can also show a vulnerable nervous system or a weak constitution. They're usually the first sign of delicate nerves and can appear during times of stress when the body lacks a particular mineral such as calcium, zinc, or magnesium. White lines across the nail can indicate acute fever or coronary disease. Red, black, or white lines. Several long, thin black specks or lines underneath the nails is associated with a bacterial infection of the heart valves. This picture is a little bit inaccurate. I've seen them in real life, it's actually more lower down, and there tend to be lots of them. It's quite a rare condition, so you're not likely to have them. So if you've seen what I've just drawn there, that's a little bit more accurate representation of the thin black specks or lines. If there's red lines, that can be due to long-term high blood pressure or simply an injury such as a splinter. The fine horizontal lines are usually pale, like white. They can be a sign of poor health or an oncoming disease. The ridges on the nails, the ridges are a little bit more common. They're like grooves. If they are on all the nails, it can suggest a change or interruptions in the person's health due to severe dieting, long-term stress, some infections, some injury or trauma. Vertical grooves can come with old age, but on a young person, they can show delicate constitution, nervousness, stress. Hormonal changes are very common, and so is poor nutrition. If all the nails have the ridges, it could also be due to rheumatoid arthritis or overuse of nail polish removers. Mild ridging can be caused by the overuse of nail polish remover. Brittle or weak nails and flaky nails can be due to mineral imbalance, poor diet, or underactive thyroid gland. Using the bare hands for work such as gardening and overuse of chemicals on the nails can also cause brittle and weak nails. Long-term stress shows as dry skin on the palms, which would also affect the nail. That is the end of lesson 10 on the fingernails. We have 2 more lessons left in this module, and I hope you are getting a lot of benefit out of it. I'll see you next time. Bye.